Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling great out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far. We got a lot to talk about in this morning's video, so I appreciate y'all joining me as we do so. The first thing we will discuss is kind of what's going on right now, and that'll lead us into what's to come, which is a powerful storm system as we get into tomorrow and into our weekend. This system will bring a significant severe weather event for areas of the south for Saturday. It'll probably bring some severe weather for Sunday too for areas further east. We'll speak on that. We'll talk about the winter weather side of this system, the fact that it'll bring a lot of high winds to a pretty large area of the eastern U.S. at least some gusty winds. So we'll speak on all that, get very detailed. We'll get even more detailed in tonight's video as far as those individual snow graphics. We're just not completely in range yet of that. After we get done discussing this weekend's storm system, there's already another storm to watch for next weekend, and this could bring winter weather pretty far south. I'm not talking about to the Gulf coastline or New Orleans or Mobile, Alabama, nothing like that again, but this has an opportunity to bring winter weather for the South. So we'll speak on that. Confidence continues to increase on that, but of course we don't know the details, but we'll have an entire segment discussing that too. And of course we'll speak on the longer range. What does the pattern look like as we round off February, getting into early March? And I'm going to tell you, if you're a spring weather fan, you're not going to like this segment of the video at all, especially if you live in the eastern U.S. And then we'll finish off the video with today's forecast. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Once again, appreciate 100,000 subscribers. Big accomplishment. And we will continue to push forward. I will have a video probably sometime over the next day or so, just kind of discussing that and things like that. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. And I will finish the video off by just a little bit of a Bible devotion like we've been doing a couple times of the week. So stay tuned towards the end of the video for that. So let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the latest radar. The middle of the country is pretty quiet, sort of the middle ground between two systems. This is our storm that continues to head off, progress eastward. This is bringing a lot of heavy rain, even in my house right now. I live in here in central South Carolina. It's raining like crazy right now. We even have a tornado warning right at this second here in the Panhandle, Florida, where there continues to be ingredients to support that severe weather. But we do have a snowy side to this. This is up here in New England, Maine. This is a pretty big winter storm for Maine. And let me know what you saw in the Midwest. You know, I was hearing about a big dry slot yesterday in areas of the Midwest. You know, I haven't heard much. I didn't see many videos, many pictures, or anything yesterday. In fact, it dawned on me kind of this morning, like, dang, I wonder how the winter storm went for Chicago, Milwaukee, Des Moines. Let me know what you saw. I'm starting to wonder if it did not happen the way that it was originally forecast. So just let me know what you saw with that system that just progressed through middle of the country. They're showing a little bit of a wintry mix down here in Texas. Let me know if you're seeing anything down there. But this is a powerful system moving off the Pacific into California, Nevada, bringing a whole lot of rain to San Fran and just California. The higher elevations here in Nevada getting a lot of rain. And this system will be what sweeps across the country, kind of connects with other pieces of energy, and then develops into a powerful system in the eastern half of the lower 48. So I just kind of want to show you what's going on right now. Watches and warnings. You can see a lot of winter storm warnings in the pink, winter weather advisories. We got cold warnings, very cold in the middle of the country between two systems. A lot of flash flood watches, a lot of flash flood warnings. We even got ice storm warnings up for the valley areas of Oregon. Winter storm warnings up for Portland. So this is a pretty powerful storm system. And you can tell there's a lot of cold air involved too, especially when you're getting winter weather between the coastal range and the actual Cascades. So, there's cold air involved when that's happening. And then these lingering winter weather advisories in the purple for the system ongoing right now. The winter storm warnings up for northern Maine, and we do continue to have winter weather advisories up for lower Michigan, northern Indiana, and a few counties for northwest Ohio. So flood watches are up for this area of the country. A lot of rain on the way. We'll speak a little bit on that. But there's a lot going on, guys. I mean, a lot going on right now, a lot to come, a lot to speak on. So you can tell there's a million tabs pulled up. Let's talk about this next storm system. The one we're dealing with right now, it's happening right now, so no point in diving deep into that. We will discuss it a little bit in today's portion of the forecast in this video. But the middle of the country, let's start off this evening. So not a whole lot going on. You'll notice energy will start to show up on your screen over here to the west. So as we're starting to get into Friday morning, snow begins to overspread the Rockies. We could get some snow even in Denver, Boulder, the Front Range, foothills. But the energy will eventually escape east of the Rockies, and we'll get this piece of energy that sort of ejects across the northern sections of the lower 48 in the form of some snow breaking out across the upper Midwest. This will pick up in intensity. So I would say areas did not get as much snow as you wanted or what was forecast. You have another opportunity as you get, as close as tomorrow evening. For your Valentine's evening, if you're out and about on the town in Madison, Janesville, Milwaukee, could be a snowy night. So nice, romantic winter weather, snowy night out there. You know what? Ain't not much can beat that, right? At least in my opinion. You know, guys, I love snow, but it's snowing pretty heavily up here in Wisconsin, areas of Iowa. Snow moving to Chicago tomorrow night. Snow moving into the UP of Michigan, and that push will continue to go throughout the Great Lakes region, move into areas of Ontario, Quebec. And then we'll kind of have a reamping of moisture, if you will, Saturday morning. So we'll begin to get more moisture right into here that gets going. A little bit more warm air advection involved. So we could get a little bit of a wintry mix Saturday morning into northern Missouri, southern Iowa, snow north of that area. But then low pressure will begin to eject across kind of the Mississippi River, Mississippi Delta region, move across Kentucky. And we could get a kind of a snowy side to this. How much moisture gets thrown into the cold air? Not showing a lot, but it does develop some light, moderate snow from Missouri. Heck, even all the way back to Oklahoma, through Chicago, northern Illinois, northern Indiana. And then, Sunday morning begins to develop some heavier snow back behind this low. And we'll speak more on that here in a second. So this system does not look high impact for the middle of the country. For the eastern U.S., that's when things change. But I do want to show you the middle of the country, of course, and then breaking down the eastern U.S., we'll start this off Saturday morning. There's that snow I just mentioned across the Great Lakes region. And the interesting thing is we trend a little bit colder for the Northeast. So, places might stay winter weather for a little bit longer for the entirety of the event. But we're getting into Saturday midday. Low pressure begins to develop right in this area. A lot of rain in the green, heavy rain. Okay, and then we start to get into Saturday afternoon. Snow begins to pick up in intensity in northern PA, Erie, Buffalo, southern tier New York, all of New York. Snow begins to overspread into southern New England. Starts off with snow, maybe even in New York City. Low begins to develop right here. Big push of moisture. We begin to get a severe weather event developing south of that low as it pulls in. A lot of low-level moisture, and the low pressure itself begins to strengthen. Therefore, the upper wind pattern begins to increase. Upper level winds, low level winds all increase with the strengthening of this low, which means, hey, you're getting the kinematics, the wind energy mixing with the thermodynamics, which is getting pulled north by this low pressure. You're going to get a lot of severe weather chances for the deep south. But the winter weather side of this is raging on up here. And this particular run, the Euro, keeps it really wintry up here in southern New England. This is just an all-out pretty much winter storm in southern New England Saturday night into Sunday morning of this weekend. And then we start to get into Sunday morning the 16th. Kind of multiple things going on. Multiple low pressures could kind of eject off this trough, digging down. So low pressure number one, surging in a lot of warm air all the way up into PA. And then another one could develop right here. And as this one develops, could throw back some heavier moisture into this cold air right here. But any kind of snow does try to mix to more of a wintry mix in southern New England, all snow up in New England. And it actually switches to all rain in Boston by midday Sunday. And this is just a big rain bomb across the eastern U.S. A lot of rain. There's a low trying to develop. Multiple lows could develop as this trough digs, this dip in the jet. And this tries to throw back some heavier moisture back into that cold air. So Sunday midday, cold air crashing down to this moisture. Northern Kentucky, Ohio begins to get some heavier snow. We have to see if we can sneak and get a quick winter weather event in these areas. But, if you look at Buffalo, that low tries to swing across PA, and it tries to give Buffalo, even Pittsburgh, Erie, and just a long duration winter weather event tries to develop for areas of the interior Northeast. For example, I mean, first push of winter weather moves in Saturday morning, right? This is Sunday morning. This is getting into Sunday night into Monday. It's almost like an entire weekend event. And as cold air tries to catch up, heck, everybody in New England crashes the snow. So it's another long duration event with just loaded with tons of moisture. And then cold air crashes, could get the lake effect snow ongoing again. Heck, it's mid-February and we're still getting this. You know, we're getting a lot of cold air going over the Great Lakes in February if the lake effect snows are ongoing in February. So, but you know, all eyes are on what happens after that. But we're still focusing in on this first storm system, and it'll bring a lot of snow to the Rockies. And we'll kind of re-talk about this a little bit more here in a second, and when we talk about today's forecast. But this is going to bring a lot of snow across the Rockies, a lot of cold air involved, so the snow levels will drop for a lot of areas. But you know, moving forward here, and looks like we got our graphics just a little bit mixed up. Yeah, no, I think we're good here. So moving forward here, if we look at, it happens sometimes, we get our graphics mixed up. If we look at let's back this up. So this snow right here is for what's happening kind of right now. It's kind of blending in everything. Now I want you to watch how everything fills in. It's Friday morning. This is getting into Saturday morning, and this is all the way into Sunday morning. Notice all those snow totals increase again. So, I mean, they're going for 5 inches of snow from this system moving in that I just broke down this weekend for like Chicago. I mean, 6, 7, 8 inches for Milwaukee. Over a half an inch for basically all of southern Wisconsin. Just a few inches up in northern Wisconsin. The UP and Michigan, you know, more snow on the way. Several inches. And I'm going to zoom into those individual graphics probably tonight. I'm sorry I didn't get a video last night. Just went to church. That's why I had a lot of people ask me on social media, you making a video. But lower Michigan, almost everybody's good for a half a foot of snow. I mean, Detroit, even going for almost a half a foot. Northern Indiana, northern Ohio, a few inches of snow. Like I said, we will zoom into these individual graphics. But this is only between now and Sunday morning. Okay, so, you know, if you look at the latest Euro, and we're actually going to look at total here. The latest Euro kind of follows the National Weather Service, but if you notice, we go even further out to Monday morning, you notice you start to see some snow creeping into the south. That's because of that secondary low that develops. It tries to give some snow further south into Indiana and Ohio. We're going to get very detailed on that if that's a trend that continues. And we look at the operational GFS run, and man, I mean, it is a whopper of a system. So it really wants to develop. It wants to, I mean, between now and next Monday midday, I mean, it wants to drop a lot of snow. I mean, over a foot in areas of the Midwest. So, and even lower Michigan. So, moving into, say, the Northeast. Now, keep in mind, this is Saturday morning. This is in 24-hour periods. Look at that lake effect snow band cruising through Syracuse, areas of the Tuckhill. But check it out as the system begins to move in. Let's see if we got updated information. We do. Awesome. Yes, we do. Awesome. I'm glad I pulled that up. So this is the system on the way for the Northeast. They're already going for 3 inches of snow in Boston just through Sunday morning. The system still could be ongoing. The entire state of New York looks to get accumulating snow from this weekend storm. This is just between Sunday morning. Northern PA, a few inches of snow. And you're probably going to get some freezing rain with this. This is forecast freezing rain totals. I mean, they're going for a good bit of ice in some of these areas. And just to kind of zoom in to a couple areas, because admittedly, I have not looked at this. I mean, they're going for over 1/4 of an inch of ice in the areas of the Catskills, the Poconos, northern PA, a lot of ice. So, I mean, and that kind of, this shade of pink right here, that's over 1/10 of an inch of ice. That darker shade of pink, that's over 1/4 of an inch. So they're going for some pretty gnarly ice totals with this. So this is going to be a big winter storm for you folks up here. But, you know, just kind of zooming back out and looking at everything in a broad standpoint, if you will. And this is the latest Euro. It's never good to look at operational runs with ice totals, but this is kind of combining two runs. So this is the latest Euro. Here it comes, 24-hour periods. Man, really? I mean, it hits Boston with almost 6 inches of snow. This is the latest 06Z Euro. and it really crushes the interior areas of the Northeast with a lot of snow, guys. Man, and it hits like Ontario, Quebec hard. So this could be a powerful winter storm for the northern counties and northern areas of New England, the Northeast, up into Quebec and Ontario. So, yeah, we'll be able to focus a lot on this starting tonight when this system we're going through right now finally clears. There's a nasty severe weather threat expected for Saturday across the deep south. If you live in this orange area, that's a level 3 out of 5 risk of severe weather. It's what we call enhanced. So if you're not familiar with the Storm Prediction Center legend or categories, that dark green you see, that's a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5. The yellow is a slight, level 2. The orange you see on your screen, that is a level 3 out of 5 and enhanced. And then it goes up another category and another one. So if you see red, that's a moderate risk. And if you see the infamous pink, that is a high risk. And we don't see that often. But right now, that's a pretty large enhanced risk. Stretching from central Louisiana, southeastern Arkansas, right through the heart of Mississippi, and all the way through Tuscaloosa, but not quite into Birmingham. Slight risk goes all the way up to Nashville, all the way down to New Orleans, all the way over to Atlanta, all the way over to eastern Texas. So what is this driven off of? Pretty much at day 3, all we can do is look at the probability here, and they are, I'm sorry, let's go this, that. Man, let's see, we are all over the place. I don't think they actually have on weather, that stinks on weather-wise. So what we can do here is this. What we know here, and maybe they do, I just don't have the patience to figure it out right now because I'm in the middle of doing a video. But what we know is for that enhanced area down here, there is a 30% chance of severe weather, whether that's tornadoes, hail, damaging winds, not quite sure. There's a 30% chance of severe weather. And you notice how it has the black lines going through it? That means there is a 10% risk of significant severe weather. So that could be strong EF2 tornadoes. That could be winds exceeding 75 miles per hour. That could be hail in excess of, 2 inches. So this is going to be a significant severe weather event down here for the South Saturday. And just to kind of look at a depiction of what the Euro is showing, and we're not in the high res, resolution models yet, so we can't really see what some of these short range models are showing as far as the structure of the storms. But to me, we start off Saturday morning. What we'll watch for, I don't think it'll be kind of like what we saw yesterday. We're probably going to get some supercells develop in these splotches of green. These could be supercells. But what I'm watching for as we're getting into Saturday afternoon is a nasty line. Saturday evening, even just in the Saturday night, a nasty line of storms could develop. And some of this could be more of a nocturnal threat. Like this is like 9, 10 o'clock. Sun's already down across the deep south. And I'm worried about a nocturnal threat in these areas. And you see just this clustering of yellow, orange, and red. That's just going to be severe weather. And this continues. It develops into just a nasty line of storms in the middle of the night, Saturday night and Sunday. And we're waking up Sunday morning to a pretty significant line of storms rumbling through the southeast, the Carolinas, Georgia, Panhandle, Florida. And then we're done with it by Sunday evening. And just looking at the ingredients, you look at thermodynamics and kinematics. Thermodynamics is your surface moisture, your CAPE levels, your lapse rates. Dew points starting off Saturday morning are already ripe. I mean, we got dew points climbing into the 60s all the way up the Mississippi Delta, all the way up the Mississippi River, all the way through Jackson. And we take it all the way into Saturday afternoon. Dew points are soaring into the 60s all the way up into southern areas of Tennessee. Dew points, and you're probably going to get some dew points even in the 70s. So if you're like, Mitch, I don't know what you're talking about with dew points. Dew points is the best way to gauge humidity in the atmosphere. Everybody wants to look on their app and look at, oh man, it's 98% humidity. That's not the best way to gauge humidity. And I think most people think it is, but it's not. You look at dew points and just pull up dew point chart on Google compared to what it actually feels like. And it's a wonderful chart. There's different ones, but they're all about the same. When you get dew points in the 60s, you can start to feel the humidity in the atmosphere. You can say, okay, I can feel a little juice out here, right? 70s, that's when you say, wow, it is humid. I go outside, and especially if temperatures in the 80s and 90s, you break a sweat just standing there. So, you see that widespread across the South in the summer, right? 5 months out the year, it seems like. So plenty of juice in the atmosphere to work with these storms. The next thing you look at is Cape levels. Global models don't always do the best with this, but we start to get into Saturday afternoon. Cape levels start to spike over 1,000 joules per kilogram. Heck, even something lower than that would work. You don't need a lot of high-end Cape levels. A lot of people think you need several thousand joules per kilogram in Cape to get severe weather. You absolutely do not. But certainly the higher, probably the worse off the situation is going to be. And it really spikes here in eastern Texas, Louisiana, and you start to get it really going here in Alabama. And then I think that this will be higher even into Alabama than what the models are showing. So you got the Cape levels in response to the higher dew points, and then you look at kinematics, which is how favorable is your upper winds in the atmosphere, your low-level winds. And this is winds at 850 millibars, which is about, 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the air, give or take 1,000, about a mile above your head. So you got winds whipping out the south, southwest. You see these wind barbs pointing to the southwest. And you get this in motion here. Oh, pivotal weather can be so irritating. You get this in motion. Let's just take it to about midday and discuss this. Well, this is about Saturday afternoon. So your low-level winds, like I said, several thousand feet up in the air, going at about 45 to 50 knots. I mean, that's like 55 to 60 miles per hour in some cases. It's higher the closer you are to the actual surface low. But this is a lot of low-level winds and even directional shear to mix with the thermodynamics, which you got the overlapping of ingredients. You got all this wind energy going over the deep south. You're going to have severe weather. You're going to have a tornado threat. You're going to have damaging wind threat, especially. So, and then just speaking a little bit more on winds for everybody, this is starting off like Friday morning, but what I want you to watch is in this area how it feels in. This is predicted wind gust based off the Euro. And you notice how it begins to light up down here. That is that low pressure developing across the Mid-South, the Ohio Valley, and south of it, bringing a lot of winds with it. I mean, gusts, you get some wind gusts across the southeast, south, reaching 35, 40, 50 miles per hour in certain cases. And then I think we're going to get across the northeast as we're getting into the end of the weekend into early next week. A lot of strong winds also. I mean, winds could certainly reach 60 miles per hour on some of these higher elevations of the northeast. But we'll be able to zoom in a little bit more as far as the actual predicted National Weather Service forecast as far as winds as we get just a little bit closer. So, all right, moving past this weekend's threat of a powerful storm system, we start to move into the next week. So severe weather, winter weather will be the bigger topic for next week's storm. I don't think severe weather is going to be as big of a topic, but of course you never can rule it out, especially as we get later in the winter. But this is the winter weather outlook is day 6 probability of exceeding a 1/4 inch liquid equivalent of snow and sleet. So the way I like to think about this is this is a percent chance to see accumulating winter weather, whether it's sleet or snow. We're not quite sure. But this is Tuesday morning, February the 18th through February morning. This is through Tuesday morning, February 18th through Wednesday morning, February the 19th. So if you live in this, and this is right around like Springfield, if you live in this blue area, that's a 50 to 70% chance of accumulating winter weather. And that dark green, 30 to 50% chance. And that light green, that is a 10 to 30% chance of accumulating winter weather. So this is through, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, even extending to Kentucky and Tennessee, heck, even northern sections of Mississippi. So the experts are already honking the horn at a winter storm potential. That's a pretty large area that has a pretty decent shot at winter weather. Okay, now let's zoom out. Let's move a little bit further east. This is for Wednesday morning into Thursday morning of next week. And check this out. Nashville, and I think this will increase for Nashville. Even northern Alabama, through Knoxville, through the upstate of South Carolina, Charlotte, good chunk of North Carolina, all the, Raleigh, Greensboro, Charlotte, Asheville, Boone, You guys in that light green they're already honking the horn saying 10 to 30% chance of accumulating winter weather. And then that dark green, that is a 30 to 40% chance of accumulating winter weather. So the chances look higher in the mid-Atlantic. But I mean, it's already extending all the way up into New York City, southern New England. So they see it just like we do. That's a pretty large area too. So let's break down model guidance. And I do not think we're in range for this storm system for the 06Z. So we're going to just keep it at the OOZ for now. Okay. So we'll start off Monday morning the 17th. So we're getting into early next week. We got the stripe of light to moderate snow diving down with a reinforcing cold shot. And we start to get into Tuesday morning, and snow becomes much more widespread across the high plains. I mean, this darker blue, that's heavy snow. Next Tuesday morning, the 18th, snow up into Wyoming, Montana, and just the high plains of South Dakota and Nebraska. So we start to bring this into Tuesday afternoon. All-out winter storm begins to develop across Kansas again. Areas of Oklahoma, this will be a colder system potentially, a better opportunity for winter weather, I would say. And then there's the nasty ice corridor developing right down here in southern Oklahoma. That's freezing rain. Dallas, Fort Worth right here. How close does it get? This is all snow in Amarillo, all snow in Oklahoma City, Tulsa. And then it really becomes juiced up. Like this is getting into Tuesday evening, Tuesday night. This is all rain for Louisiana. But look at the freezing rain getting close to the Dallas, Fort Worth area, if not on it. Snow falling heavily in northern Arkansas, snow falling up in Springfield, snow getting into St. Louis, most of Missouri, snowing heavily into southeast Kansas, eastern Oklahoma. We take this into Wednesday morning. Ice storm developing as far south as central Texas, icing ongoing in Dallas, icing as far south as Shreveport, Louisiana, southern Arkansas. We got ice moving into northern Mississippi, all snow up here. And then the first wave gets sheared out, if you will, and then it kind of gets going again. And models have teased at this. I mean, this is some cold, high pressure up here. And this stays all snowing like Memphis. You're right at the corridor of snow and ice, but just north, so you're in the snow. And it really cranks up a winter storm into western Tennessee, eventually into western Kentucky. And man, this is a powerful winter storm into these areas. Into western Tennessee and northern Mississippi. Still snowing in the Boot Hill, Missouri. And then, man, it's a big one. So we move to the east and we break down the Euro. All right. Same thing. That first kind of wave of moisture gets sheared out or suppressed. And then we start to get into, this is Wednesday night and the Thursday morning. That's a powerful winter storm breaking out. Kind of just east of the Mississippi River. Starting to move into the Ohio Valley, areas of the southern Midwest. And that is a winter storm for Nashville, Memphis, Tupelo. And this really cranks up, and it is a huge winter storm on this one operational run for the Ohio Valley. I mean, for West Virginia. Look at that nasty ice again. I mean, you guys are getting a nasty ice storm right now up in the high country of North Carolina. But this brings more freezing rain. It's not a forecast. It's going to change. Could be much snowier than this. Could be much rainier than this. Brings a winter storm into the mid-Atlantic next Thursday morning, a week from today. And then brings a powerful winter storm into the mid-Atlantic and northeast and stuff like that. Even a blizzard. Now, please don't look at this, guys. If you live in the Carolinas and say, oh, it's over, it's not going to have the same thing. It's crazy reading those comments. And I'll be honest, I skip right over them. It's not a knock on you guys, but I used to be that person. And that you don't get overly bummed and you don't get overly excited about one model run, guys. And I've had to learn that because I used to. I still get very excited about when, it shows the pretty blues over my house, but you can't emotionally swing one way or the other. Yes, this shows a nasty ice and just straight rain for most of Georgia and the Carolinas. And it, does kind of eastern areas of Tennessee dirty. But listen, I mean, it's just one forecast run. But what I'm about to show you with the ensemble run, it doesn't support that much. So the GFS, same thing. Snow breaking out. This is getting into Tuesday morning, and then we get into Tuesday afternoon. Now, there is a huge difference here with the GFS and the Euro. Big difference. Does not Tuesday afternoon break out a lot of snow further west into the plains. I mean, Amarillo, Oklahoma City ain't getting much. It does finally expand some moisture west as we're getting into Tuesday evening, but this really keeps it further east. This is heavy snow breaking out across northern Arkansas, the southern half of Missouri. and it just never does anything like what the Euro shows further west. It's mainly rain for, most of the deep south. It's not a big winter storm for areas of Dallas and the Shreveport and the Little Rock. Does get some winter weather down into like Memphis and definitely into Nashville, but it's not a huge event at all. It looks like it's almost northern string dominated to me. Now, to progress this eastward, here it comes. Some snow across Tennessee as we're getting into Wednesday morning. Some snow across areas of the Central Apps. And then this finally does try to get going off the coast of the Carolinas. Brings a little snow to northern North Carolina and then tries to develop into a stronger snowstorm for the Delmarva and all the way into southern New England, and then tries to crank up at the last second. So, yeah, I mean, a GFS is just not as high as an impact storm as the Euro. But I can tell you, these models are still, flipping around. For example, this was the GFS last night. Looked different. It looks different out west, I would say. In the eastern U.S. looks about the same, but it wants to get another area of moisture going and tries to get some snow ongoing in Georgia, South Carolina, and southeast North Carolina like next Thursday morning. But the latest GFS, that's what it looks like. So these models are still flipping. Keep that in mind. Now, the Euro ensemble, I'm just going to show the Euro ensemble for now. Remember, this is a 24-hour period, so it's going to show snow in this 24-hour period, 51 different runs, and it's going to blend all the guidance together. So you're going to see stripes of snow with numbers appear, then disappear. So we're getting into Tuesday morning. There's that signal for snow across the middle of the country. There, check out how it blossoms across Kansas. It supports its operational run. Blossoms across Kansas, across northern areas of Oklahoma, Arkansas, across Missouri, and then it really, continues further south. I mean, you even got a snow signal all the way to Dallas, an inch, down to Shreveport, and this doesn't account for freezing rain. Okay, then it swings down, goes across Tennessee, lessens up a little bit. Got that half-inch to an inch snowfall signal for like northern areas of Alabama, northern Mississippi. Okay, and then this swings through across the southeast. And check it out. Look how it lessens up a little bit across Tennessee, Kentucky, and then it kind of refires, reblossoms across the Carolinas. So, boom, all of a sudden, this thing looks like it taps into something, and it kind of gets re-energized. And, we have a pretty solid snowfall mean as far south as Charlotte, Knoxville, Raleigh, certainly up to Greensboro. I think if you live in northern North Carolina, man, this could be something. Virginia especially. This is solid signal at this range for Virginia. A several-inch snowfall mean through the Delmarva. And there's a lot of members riding up through the Delmarva, the Mid-Atlantic, and the southern New England areas hitting you guys good because, you can see in response of this axis of where the footprint of snow is. But, yeah, it's not very south into Atlanta or Columbia. A little bit of a mean there. But, there is an ice signal. There's an ice signal. I'm telling you guys, I don't have my cursor thing to draw on, but right south of this axis of snow, there is an ice signal with this too. This is not going to be just pure snow. Like I said, we'll be able to hyper-focus on that after we get past this weekend storm a lot. But I do want to look at something real quick before we move on. Listen, I really think that this is going to be something. And this is the latest Euro ensemble coming in. You compare that with that. They normally drop. I don't know why it always does that. But anyways, I really think that this is going to be a pretty powerful storm system this weekend. But I really think this winter storm is a legit risk for areas further south. Like this is, if we look at the latest 06Z Euro, it's pretty much doubling down on what it showed for the OOZ run. It's diving down, bringing all that moisture. And you can tell it's about to bring something for Tennessee, northern Mississippi. So, listen, guys, I think this is legit. It looks colder, too. Like, if you combine that member with this member, it looks a little bit colder. So, that's something to watch. Speaking of cold, this is starting this Sunday. You'll get a day or two of warmer temperatures across the east, and then here comes Barney returning. People been cracking up me saying Barney, but it's kind of a thing we say in the weather community when the purple starts to show up and then the temperature anomalies. But Old Barney begins to show up, and that we're getting like temperatures 25 degrees below average when this starts to show up. But we're getting in early next week. Arctic air mass begins to drop the hammer down into the middle of the country. And then this cold air begins to ooze east, and then it just hangs out for us for the long run. This is through day 10, day 11, day 12, heck, all the way through the last day of February. We're still dealing with below average temperatures. And listen, this is supported by the MJO. I mean, the GEFS gets this thing in phase 8, which is a very favorable phase in the east for cold and winter weather, and just hangs out here for like 10 days at least. I mean, that is just going to continue to bring opportunities. And the Euro ensemble gets it clear into phase 8 and then phase 1. These are all favorable phases for winter weather. And then, the latest Euro extended takes us through phase 8, phase 1, tries to circle us back all the way to phase 8. So I know that the MJO probably confuses people, and I'm still learning it, but phase 4, 5, and 6 are warm phases. We're firmly into phase 7 right now, I believe, and by the time we get into this weekend and the next week, we're in phase 8, and that's why. It's exactly why we begin to get winter weather further south. It makes sense. The connection's always there. I think the MJO is a great gauge on when we're trying to figure out if a favorable pattern is going to show up. And, this is the system for next week. You see the blue blob, that's a trough digging down, cold air injection into this trough, allowing for this moisture to have an opportunity to be some winter weather further south. But even as that swings through, maybe a brief warm up, and then, just consistent troughing. You see this area in blue showing up over the eastern U.S. begins to show up, and we are certainly going to have a lot of cold air spilling into the eastern U.S. with this, tall spiking ridge out west, dislodges cold air into the east. Not sure about winter weather chances, but this is definitely a cooler look, if anything. So today's weather, there is a risk of severe weather. It's ongoing right now across Georgia, the Panhandle of Florida. Stay safe with that, but not a big severe weather day. Now, we will look at the risk of excessive rainfall. If around LA, points north and west, Santa Barbara, you guys have a moderate risk, at least a 40% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance. And then in the yellow, that's a 15% risk. So flash flooding is a big deal there. We'll have to watch out for a little risk of flash flooding in Georgia and Tennessee. But conditions today, this round of storms will continue to move through the southeast, through northern Georgia. Take a little bit longer to clear the peninsula of Florida, but by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, we get a pretty chill day, not a whole lot going on, but over the next 24 hours, we just have to deal with this thin line of storms making its way through. Up here in the northeast, a lot of moisture continues to make its way, low pressure flying in. It's a lot of snow that will fall up here in Maine, areas of Vermont, New Hampshire. Icing will continue to be a deal. We could even switch to rain eventually in southern areas of Maine and even the down east areas of Maine. But it stays all snow up here in northern sections of Maine. After that, some lake effect snows will fly through off Lake Ontario and certainly deliver several more inches of snow in these favorite areas, kind of downstream to the southeast of Lake Ontario. But snowfall between now and the next 48 hours. The key down here is reflecting over 10 inches of snow to fall in northern Maine. Caribou, maybe another 6 inches. And a lot of this is already falling right now. This is accounting for what's already fell. But the south central U.S., I wouldn't be surprised to get a little wintry mix down here in Texas, but this won't be a big deal. Let me know if you're tuning in from that area, you're seeing anything. But weather between now and the next 24 hours is chill. Could get a little bit of freezing drizzle, freezing rain in central Kansas tomorrow morning, but should not be a big deal. North central U.S., lake effect snow will begin to pop off once again for you folks in the UP of Michigan. So I don't know if these bands will position in one particular area, but if you live in the eastern UP in Michigan, some of these will anchor over the same areas and deliver additional snowfall totals up here. But the western U.S., large systems swinging in, which will connect to our powerful system this weekend. And this will just bring a lot of rain, a lot of snow. We could even get some winter weather for those lower elevations of like Oregon and stuff like that. But snow flying around across the Rockies and it'll lessen up as we get into Friday. But this is precipitation, for the entire western U.S. between now and the next 3 days. Just a lot of moisture, and this is really for today. A lot of moisture. LA could get almost 2 inches of rain. Of course, with the lift up against those higher elevations, that'll squeeze out even more precipitation. This is snow. Sierra Nevada is going to get crushed with feet of snow, and certainly, let's look at. It's raining like crazy at my house. Certainly, we'll get some snow in these areas of the Cascades and the freezing rain. We're going to get a few tenths of an inch of freezing rain in northwestern areas of Oregon. Temperatures. We'll get a spike of warmth here across the southeast today before cooler air moves in. Cold across the northern terrain of the country. And these are temperatures out west. So, that's all I got. 40 minutes strong. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll do it again tonight. Almost forgot. And I knew this was going to happen sometimes. Bible devotion. So I actually stopped the video. Then it dawned on me, like, Mitch, you forgot to do the Bible devotion. So I remembered. So right now we're in Romans. I'm in Romans chapter 12, and this is verse 1 through 2. So 1 and 2. So this is Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. It says, "Therefore, brothers and sisters, in view of the mercies of God, I urge you to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true worship. Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the good, pleasing, and perfect will of God." I think that's a decently common verse. A lot of people have probably at least heard of. And I think it kind of touches on some things we've talked about, I think a couple devotions back, about God's will in your life. And I think it really speaks on, at least it partially speaks on the fact that, you're going to be tempted to do things of this world. Your mind is going to be tempted to be consumed by the pleasures of this world and what can you get. And for example, I'll give a prime example. Doing YouTube. And listen, I'm always personal with you guys. I'm always real with you guys. I'm a human being just like y'all. There's been times in my YouTube journey where I've lost sight of the passion a little bit and focused a little bit too much on the growth of my channel. And I'm sure you guys have seen glimpses of that, me worrying about hitting 100,000 views, me being bummed about the lack of growth on the channel. And, I kind of, you start to see how much money you're making and this, that, and the other, a lack of money you're making. And it's kind of like last fall. If you guys remember, I went through the issue with YouTube for 2 months. Now, I do feel like that I got completely, hoodooed by YouTube, but I think it happened for a reason. And I think part of that reason is just the fact that I got too wrapped up a little bit into what the growth of the YouTube brings me and not giving the glory to God. I'm not sitting here saying God punished me. That's not what I'm saying. God works in mysterious ways. We've heard that many times. But what I'm saying is, I think that we get too wrapped up on what we want of this world, the pleasures this world brings, and we lose sight on God's will in our life. And I think that speaks to that. And I think it's always, like it says, I think it's always important to kind of renew your mind. That's why it's important to go to church, get into the Word, surround yourself around people that are challenging you to get better in your spiritual life. So don't get so wrapped up in things of this world. And it can be smaller, it can be larger things. Always focus on God's will in your life. And that's one of my biggest prayers. I always pray, God, I don't really ask. Like, even it can be something as simple as when I'm asking for it to snow. I'll be like, God, if it's your will for it to snow, it would be awesome if it does, right? And that's a good example of that. And, you always want God's will on your life. And even though, and I think I said this a couple weeks back, even though God's will in your life might put you in an uncomfortable spot, you're being put in that uncomfortable spot for a reason. So don't get so wrapped up on all the worldly things. And I'm speaking to myself there too, guys. So I'm glad we didn't forget that. Glad we went back to that. But God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you again tonight.